Welcome to JackHorney.com show.
Okay, folks, I've just got a cat walking past me. I'm looking after my friend's cat at the moment. I had a chat. I'm going to do this about complaining about the NHS. I've chatted to a few people on the internet, on Twitter. So she's just walking out the room. She keeps going down for dinner, I think. There she goes. Cute little thing. Quite elderly, but she'll still get going. She lost all her teeth. There she goes. She's gone down for some more din-dins. Some people seem to, especially on the left, seem to think it's wrong to criticise the NHS. Apps get devastated if you say anything negative, because if you do, they accuse you of wanting to privatise it or whatnot. I think in their mind that any criticism means get rid of the NHS, which is actually shouldn't be how you see it. People complain about anything, NHS, business or anything. They do so because they care, and if they didn't care, they wouldn't complain. If they didn't give a damn about something, they don't care, they just wouldn't use it again. So, for instance, if you went to a restaurant and you didn't like it, you probably wouldn't go back again. But if it's somewhere you've been a few times, or it's local, you might want to complain. And complaints are how businesses improve. It doesn't matter how good the business is. Complaints. Some people take complaints too personally, and it's not a very good thing to do that, because complaints are actually you should see complaints as positive. And when I say you should complain about the NHS, that's not a negative thing. It's because if you're passionate about it, you want it to improve. And there's no reason why you shouldn't want things improving, because you see, for a lot of people on the left, if you mention efficiency, they seem to see that as a dirty word. Well, efficiency actually means running things a lot better. For instance, an efficient hospital, you can always tell if a hospital's efficient, because for a start off, you won't have any mistakes made, because it'd be impossible to. For instance, you wouldn't make operations. I'll give you an example. Let me think. You wouldn't take somebody into an operating room and give them the wrong operation, because the paperwork would be correct and everything. Or you wouldn't give them too many tablets or whatever, because being efficient means you shouldn't make mistakes. That's how you can tell if a hospital's efficient. It's one aspect. An efficient hospital. You see, when people on the left talk about efficiency, they think it's about just simply saving money, which in their mind seems to be a bad thing, because they think it means cutbacks. Well, efficiency isn't just about saving money, and saving money isn't a bad thing. For instance, it's only recently I've seen, when you go into an NHS, it seems to be more computerised. Well, for quite a long time, which is nonsense when you think about it, it's all been paper-based. Now, that's not efficient. And, I've experienced myself, things have gone missing, my documents went missing, and I was had to stay in hospital a lot longer than I needed to. That costs money. It costs money moving paper about. You end up having to repeat some of the paper. It gets ridiculous. Now, saving money using computers means, you're not just saving money, but you're not losing the documents like you would do, because everyone can access them, you can see them, you're not having to spend money on paper, you're not having to move. If you ever went in hospital a few years ago, you'd see hundreds of these big, massive trolleys going up and down with lots of paper on and lots of nonsense. And if you went in and saw one doctor after an x-ray, you'd sit there, and sometimes the doctor would say, we're having to wait for the x-ray to turn up, and sometimes the x-ray got lost, and gosh, the time that must have wasted. I remember I had to sit with the doctor for 20 minutes before the paperwork turned up. Well, imagine doing that times that all day long. Now, I mean, that doctor could have seen a lot more people, for instance. This is why efficiency isn't a bad thing, but the left are too stupid to get that. If you mention efficiency, they're so thick, a lot on the extreme left especially, that they're going meltdown mode. Now, this leads me on to, again, what I'm on about the NHS, complaining about them. Complaining about the NHS, and I even saw an MP on Question Time say you shouldn't complain about the NHS. Well, there's two problems there. One, which is what you see the left do, they cover things up, ends up that they think that's the easiest way. Let's ignore things. People don't matter for people on the extreme left, only the ideology matters. So we saw that with the abuse in, I forget which northern town it was. Abuse after abuse after abuse, but it was all covered up because it was too embarrassing for those on the left. It rather than face up to the fact there was abuse, they thought, well, let's ignore it, sod them, because only young girls, they don't matter. They're working class. They're not nice middle class people. So let's put them out to rot because we don't want to criticise a certain culture, because that would be against our principles to even suggest anything negative about any culture. It's better to have the kids abused and just let's pretend it doesn't happen. I think even today we're seeing that. I think MPs, I think there has been an MP or someone who actually even said they should shut their mouth, these girls, let themselves get abused. They're only working class, because we don't want to have that environment where people could criticise somebody. The same culture happened in the, by the looks of it, in the Catholic Church. Rather than face facts, they just covered it up. They put people out to the ideology of the church was more important than the people who attended. And again, I see this in the NHS. The ideology of the NHS matters more to a lot of people on the left than actually the patients. Patients don't matter. You shut your mouth. If you get a crappy treatment, it doesn't matter. The ideology is far more important. And therefore, any criticism it's a meltdown situation. Now, the NHS, if you're passionate about it, you would complain, because you should do, and it shouldn't be a negative, because every aspect about it you want to improve. I mean, the problem with a lot of the left is that, especially Labour, is that they still live on this old-fashioned thing of going, well, we invented the NHS, oh, aren't we marvellous? Instead of saying the NHS was good for, well, I don't think it was good at the time, because what happened was the idea of the NHS was supposed to set up, temporarily be expensive for 5 years, but then everyone takes care of themselves. And the reality is people haven't taken care of themselves. They've got overweight, smoked, taken drugs. So the consequence of that is, especially on a Friday and a Saturday, the A&E is jam-packed full of alcohol. People have just gone out, spent 400 quid drinking or whatever, and fallen over, drunk, or got in a fight, and the NHS then has to pay for it all. Nonsense, really. This is why, but you see, this is my argument, what the Labour should have done, or even Conservatives. They should say, look, we're going to reinvent the NHS to fit for purpose. Get rid of all the waste, all the stuff that people should pay for themselves for, such as boob jobs, getting pregnant, this IVF nonsense, all this over expensive thing. And just deal with, real health issues, because that's what it should be there for. It should be for if you've broken your leg, if you got cancer, whatever. If you go out and get drunk, you pay for it. If you fall over, you should have a bill sent to you. That's not health issue. That's you being drunk. If you can afford to go out and get drunk, you can afford to pay for your bill. So, I mean, that it's nonsense to suggest that somebody who goes out into town who's spending £5-6 on the drinks at a time. And quite easily, some of these people spend hundreds of pounds getting drunk, and then then they expect freebie treatment. Well, if you can afford that, you can afford to pay for your bill. And in reality, if you give people bills for getting drunk and falling over or getting in fights, you'd soon find people would not be doing it because they wouldn't want to face that bill. That's just my point. But the complaint about the NHS isn't something negative. It's like any business. I mean, one of the things that you'll find is that when you see hotel owners who can't take criticism, they usually have these dreadful, horrible hotels, and in the end they go belly up because nobody goes there. Businesses that can't cope with criticism do badly. The ones that do well are the ones who accept criticism. They see it as a positive. But the trouble is, some people see everything so personally that any criticism of anything, and I do this myself, and I see websites and I say, look, this is what's wrong with it. And boy, some people say, yeah, you're correct, and they'll correct everything I say. But others, they take it so personally. I even just had one the other day. It's using a horrible web domain name. It's dreadful, and it's a dating site, if I remember, and it's just off the shelf. I think he's probably paid £5 or something. Not very much for it. For actual the what do you call it, the script that runs the website. It's not very special. It's horrible, and he doesn't understand why people aren't wanting to be affiliates to his site. And I said, well, one, it's a horrible name, and it is. It's a dreadful name. Doesn't mean it's meaningless drivel. But in his head, you see, it's so personal to it. He can't understand that. He doesn't want to change because it's personal. And he then sent, and I've had this with other websites. I've seen sites where they've got too much text or whatever. But you see, the trouble is, the pictures are dreadful, the videos are dull, whatever. But people take things so personally, and then they go belly up. I'm even had. Oh, I think she's coming back in. Is the cat? But it's if you take things personally, then you're not going to get anywhere. You have to see criticism not something negative, but something positive. I mean, to be honest, if you're a business, you want to encourage as much negative, not negative. You want to encourage as much complaints as you can, because that's how you find out how to improve everything. Even if you've got a 5-star business where everything seems to be brilliant, that doesn't mean you shouldn't accept more complaints, because you could even fine-tune everything even better. And sometimes things like this, people at companies have saved a fortune because they've stopped providing something people didn't want. For instance, if you had a box of biscuits and there was one variety in there nobody liked, and they were just basically, it was just a waste of time making this biscuit, you'd stop making it and put in something people do like. It's just, it is shouldn't be seen as negative. That's all I'm saying. So when you get idiots on the left who tell me don't complain, or no, you want to privatize it, well, you're very stupid. I mean, you see, the trouble is a lot of people on the left aren't very bright. They're very thick. In the old days, the left used to be intelligent academics. You could see that. I remember being brought up. The TV was full of these academics on the left. They'd be very knowledgeable of everything. Today, when I listen to the left, they're basically thick as pig shit. They don't really know anything. They're just quoting what their mates have told them or what they think they've read. They're dumb as anything. I mean, they're idiots themselves, but they just want to prance around and just quote a couple of lines, and they think that they know it all, and they're not. They're dumb. Anyway, that's just I was just irritated by this person criticising me, and then obviously what they do is they get into meltdown mode, because I was explaining how, the NHS hasn't solved health. It's made how people are getting unhealthier, and that wasn't the aim of the NHS, because I'd actually knew about the NHS, and I was a student nurse at one point, so I had a bit of knowledge, and this person clearly hadn't. Although they started pretending that they were a nurse when they clearly wasn't, because they told me they didn't know basic things which you would have been taught at nursing. You could tell. So I started asking which hospital, and they couldn't tell me. They were basically lying. You can tell they're trying to be clever when they didn't know anything. They thought, because they were on the left, they thought they knew about the NHS, which they hadn't even bothered looking at. So when I was pointing out examples, which were actually correct examples, because I even posted links to the evidence, and apparently links to evidence, even though they admitted that it was true what I was saying, it wasn't true because it didn't fit into their belief system. Anyway, but sometimes I often wonder, am I wasting my time with people on the left, because they're a bit stupid. I mean, they're a minority people who are basically talk to other people on the left in the little echo chambers who aren't too clever. But it's the way of, I think a lot of times thick people like to be on the left and talk this left thing because they think it makes them sound clever than they are. They're clearly not very bright people, but it's often my experience these days that those on the left aren't the cleverest of people. They tend to be a bit on the dozy side. That they might have gone to a uni but not gone to a very good uni, or the degree they're doing is not actually that worth much. It's usually a namby-pamby degree. They're not really academic, I mean, most people can do a degree. It doesn't make you clever, but I think, unfortunately, I mean, I've got a degree. I've got one in I've got a BA honours, but I'm the thickest pig shit. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can. I'm dyslexic and basically struggle to read and write, but I've got a degree. So, you know what I mean? You don't have to be that smart to do a degree, folks. I mean, I was bottom of the class, and I went to a decent uni and got a decent grade, and they did, I think, a decent degree. It wasn't the top, it wasn't academic, but I don't think it was the bottom. So, anyway, that's just my just little rant there, folks.